Hi, welcome to Brighton Music Conference. You're here with us for a DJ and producer Q&A. I'm Martha. I work at Brighton-based label True Thoughts, and with us we have Josh Butler, Jay Hill, Krafty Kuts, and DJ Rap. So I don't know. Do you guys want to start by introducing yourself, talking about a bit about who you are in the industry, how long you've been doing what you've been doing, what that involves? Do you want to start?
Sure, I'll kick off. Firstly, hi to everyone. My name's DJ Rap. I am a artist, DJ, producer. Sometimes I cheat with acting. And predominantly known for drum and bass and jungle music, but I tend to flirt with all styles of music, pop, electronica and all that stuff.
This is Martin, Krafty Kuts, and I'm a DJ producer. And I, very much like this young lady, kind of flirt around with lots of different types of music, more on the sort of breakbeat and broken beat tip. And I wrote a hip-hop album with Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5 last year, which was really good fun, and I toured the world with him. And yeah, I was living a dream, so I'm kind of contemplating hopefully those days will come back. But yeah, DJ, producer, and that's me in a nutshell.
Hi, I'm Jay Hill, and I am a DJ, music producer, and record label owner of People of the Light. And we do, I do predominantly house and techno with some subgenres underneath that, so yeah.
I'm Josh Butler, and very much the same, DJ, producer, label owner of Origins Records. I've been lucky enough to travel the world, play music and tour with the likes of Nile Rodgers, and been in the industry for nearly 10 years now.
Cool, thanks guys. So I guess we might as well bite the bullet and start with the elephant in the room, which we've pretty much already been talking about for the past half an hour. So in terms of COVID-19 and dance music, DJing, producing, both in the UK and in the US as well, I guess start with, how's it been for you? What have you found yourself doing? Have you been learning any new skills? Have you just jumped 2 feet straight into live streaming? Whoever wants to kick off with that, with your COVID-19 journey.
I think that, I try to find an upside to everything, and I know there's a lot of bad stuff happening and it's very restrictive, but I think it's very important to try to maintain positivity and look for the silver lining. So for me, I think there's never been a more interesting time where you have a captive audience to promote yourself and to do something different. And for me, I have found a way to express myself creatively through my Patreon. And I think, what I've learned through this experience is that people really want community, and that's what brings people together. So having a Patreon and creating music just for them, streaming just for them, creating music that I never thought I could. If you're DJing in a club, you've got to play a certain style of music because you're on the dance floor, right? But when you're streaming to your fans and it's a different sort of scenario, it's streaming, the music's different. It dictates a different kind of mood. So what you're creating can be different as well. So I'm doing piano concerts, I'm doing all kinds of stuff, Zoom hangs. I'm even doing pub hangs called bubble events with 6 people with my Patreon, at different days of the month. And I think you've just got to find ways, because they're not going to stop us being creative. Or as that person said, it's time for DJs to get a new skill. At the end of the day, this is a calling. It's not a thing that you just switch jobs and say, I'm going to change career. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm going to be like water. I'm going to go around it, through it, find a way. And for me, that's what I've been doing, is just throwing myself, building into Patreon, into building a community. And they give me a reason to wake up in the morning, because honestly, if it wasn't for them, my tribe, I would feel so depressed. I don't even know what I do, but I have a reason to wake up. So whilst everything else is stopping, I'm finding a way to keep the blood going through the veins. So that's what I've been doing.
That was brilliant. That was really interesting to hear that, because when the lockdown came in, no, it was really good. Your passion is, it's wonderful to see that, because that's what, as musicians and artists, we are extremely passionate. You won't meet a more passionate bunch of people. It's like, I've been working in the music industry for like 30 years, so it's in my veins, same as you. And I can't imagine life without it. I've lived and breathed music ever since I was young, and discovered music from like two-tone to hip-hop, electro, and breakbeat, and drum and bass, and funk and disco. So I listen to those forms of music every day and have done since I discovered music. So for them to turn around and say, "I'll learn a new skill," that's impossible. That ain't going to happen with me. So when the lockdown came in, me and my son, he said, "Look, let's do some streams."
That's amazing.
And I said, right, so we just put the camera in front of the decks and away we went. 100,000 people watched us stream, and I was like, oh my God, because you could see the amount of people that were watching from Facebook, because we just went on Facebook. I was like, this is amazing, I've got a new audience. And then suddenly I had to learn to use a mic. You know, I never used a mic in a club. I'd use Dynamite MC vocals on the CDJs, and I'd use it to better people on the mic. So I've learned a new skill with like cameras and, you know, figuring out how to stream and stuff. And it's brought a whole new world of entertainment to me. And it's brought so much fun. I've made new fans, and you read the comments and you see the love that you get. It just makes me feel that satisfied that I'm doing what I still feel passionate about. And also, for, you know, trying to figure out new music each week for doing a stream has been extremely difficult, but it's challenging. But it's a good challenge, you know. I love doing it. So I'm, you know, playing different forms of music from like funk, disco, breakbeat, drum and bass, house, and, you know, and I'm, like you said, I'm even making different styles of music that I thought I'd never make. So with a stream, your music is tend to be a little bit more toned down, or the moods, like you start less energetic and build to more, you know, sort of more energetic music at the end. And, you know, it's kind of like when you first started DJing, you sort of warm up and then you play longer sets, because most of the time when we play at a club, it'd be an hour, maybe 2 hours if you're lucky. But sometimes with streams, I've played for like 3 hours. And it's like, it's brought those good times back to me when I first started DJing in bars or warm-up DJs at my club nights, where I'd DJ for like 2 hours before the main act would turn up. And you learn to improve and try different things and be even more creative. But, you know, this whole lockdown has taught me a lot of different things, and I'm embracing it and trying to keep my passion and vibe alive. And I'm you know, I've still got the energy and desire to want to keep going.
Good, I'm glad.
Yes.
Because that's what we need, you know. I do feel like it is. It's easy to get the spirit sucked out of it sometimes with all this going on. Yeah. I feel like I've made a lot less music than I used to in the studio. Yeah. A lot of it is, like you said, a little bit different as well. I've been making some drum and bass and jungle stuff, which I'm not known for.
That's cool.
But really enjoy that. But actually, do you know what? I've been trying to learn other things outside of music as well, and trying to get in a different headspace. Like, I've been studying some Spanish and reading more, being outdoors more.
That's really good.
I think that's really helped. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think this year for me has been like, it's rocked everybody's world into bits. But I think, you know, I actually, after some time and a couple months, I kind of started to realize, like, I might get some vitriol for this, but I think this is actually a really good thing for us and for our industry in some ways. In other ways, it's been absolutely devastating. But I think, you know, especially in the US, like, we needed a master reset. All the clubs in New York, as of 2019 in Manhattan, there were 2 clubs that supported underground electronic music in one night, you know?
Wow.
And it's like the scene was starting to go downhill for a lot of different reasons. And then even, you know, clubs in Brooklyn closed as well. And so it wasn't just like, you know,
it needed something dramatic to happen.
Yeah, a regional kind of thing. Yeah. So
New York's always had a bit of a strange vibe for nightclubs, hasn't it? Whenever I've travelled, I don't know about you, but it's always been difficult to get gigs in New York for outsiders, and the scene there is very closed, and, you know, it's either straight up house or hip hop, and that's it, and techno, I suppose. But they've not really embraced, you know, sort of like London has, where you have a big drum and bass nights, big hip hop nights, big breakbeat nights, big house and techno nights. I always found that it was quite difficult to break into New York. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. That's exactly how it is. You know, I call it DJ boot camp in New York, and it was such at the time, like the energy was so vibrant, and there was 15 clubs in Manhattan, and I was going to audio engineering school at night and working for Sony Music during the day, and throwing parties on Thursday nights, and then getting up and going to work, getting home at 5 a.m. and going to work.
Wow.
So at any rate, though, it just, and I moved to Philly like a couple of years in 2016, because things in New York were not working out, and I knew that I needed to focus on making music. And, so I found a studio in Philly, and I could just kind of be away from that, all the craziness and run around of New York, but it was still, I could close enough, I could get gigs there. Well, then, COVID happened, and then even more so, I think, all the electronic scenes, even in Detroit and Chicago, Miami, clubs were closing, and so it's like, I do think that this is kind of a time where we can, like, I don't know, reset, think about doing things differently. So maybe it's, it's more intimate things, and maybe it's, less, rock star DJs and more, everybody kind of on the
Actually,
same level.
just to bring on that point, I think that's one of the good things is what you're mentioning. Before there was sort of a us and them in the situation where the DJ's on the stage, they're far away. It's a chance for us to get to know everyone on a really deeper level. Like, I don't know about you, but I now know my fans, who they are, their names, everything, what's going on in their lives. That is the one good thing, is that you have a chance, not only if you're a new producer, to be creative and really flex your muscles in the studio production-wise, like you were saying, I mean, look, if you're a real DJ, you should be able to play for 3 hours. I mean, Tenaglia would play for 17 and just take a pee in like a bottle. That would be it, I mean,
it's all about the
like,
long sets for me as well.
Yeah, it's
longer the
like,
better.
it's time. I think for the people out there who may be watching, if you're up and coming DJs or producers, I think the way to look at this is to say this is an opportunity for growth musically in the studio. Flex those muscles, do whatever you want, because you can start getting a fan base. You've got a captive audience. And for the first time ever, the DJs are now like speaking to you, like, and I call my patrons up, Messenger, FaceTime, we speak with Zoom hangs, all that stuff. Where have you had the chance to do that before? If you're the kind of producer that just wants to, smoke a blunt, not speak to anyone, not do any production marketing, those days are gone. You can't be that person. If you're going to be an artist, you have to actually do all the stuff now. You have to communicate with your fans. And I think this is an opportunity for us who are passionate and enjoy, not just like performing, but enjoy the interaction of speaking to fans, to do that. So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah,
even too, I think, when the scene comes back, people need to band together, more, and create as a community versus all the competition. And, in one city with 10, 15 parties a night, like, let's not do this anymore. Let's like band together and then have like, more quality over quantity. And
yeah, because I guess one of the things I was going to ask when you were talking about getting 100,000 people watching that first stream was, I suppose, the difference between people commenting on a stream or knowing there are so many people watching and so many people interacting. But I suppose it is the thing you've touched on about then getting to know people personally. So I from those comments, I've got 2 more questions about the whole COVID-19 situation, where it's first, how have you found that's compared to playing to huge crowds? Can it compare, or is it just a totally different thing? But also on the flip side to that, have you found yourself, in terms of banding together and the feeling of community, maybe reaching out to more people with collaborations? Have more people been reaching out to you? As you point out, like, probably quite a lot of the people tuning in are up and coming DJs and producers. Like, is now the time, if you want to, slide into someone's DMs and like suggest working on a track together, is now the time to do it because people are more open to that idea of community?
I've actually done a few of those type of collaborations over the last 6 months or so, mainly with vocalists, and actually started a whole new side project specifically for that kind of thing, collaborations with up-and-coming singers or producers. Focused more on radio-like songs, not necessarily club tracks for obvious reasons at the moment. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head there.
And is that kind of like going for the more radio angle? Is that your way, would you say, of adapting to the clubs?
Yeah, I mean, for the time being. Also, it's I find it's easier to get in that headspace to make music like that at the moment as well, because to get the inspiration for the club tracks, I need to be in the club and hear it loud and hear how the arrangements work on crowds, you know.
Yeah, I've literally find it really difficult to write club music at the moment because I need to go walk into that club and hear a tune and go, oh, what was that? I mean, you can hear it off streams and you can hear it and stuff online, but it's not the same when you hear it on a function.
When you see the reaction of a crowd of people as well, you know, that's when you know something's really working.
Yeah, I have started to write more musical stuff, like, you know, more piano-based or chord-based progression stuff and singers. And that's the one thing I find difficult is finding decent singers because, you know, it's whether they want to work with you or not. And also with the COVID thing, some people are a little bit tentative and difficult. But as an artist, I think that, or as a DJ now, is a really good time for people to do some homework. Do you know, it's going back to school a little bit. It's like, you know, learn about the history of the music that you're getting into, whether it be house, techno, drum and bass or hip hop, and find out who are the, you know, the people that made things tick back in the day and their inspiration, and that's where you'll find your inspiration. And if you look at like hip hop, for example, it was all about sample based, and the same with like jungle and drum and bass, you know, they come from like, you know, creating really cool beats, and drum and bass producers would just sit in the studio getting the best kicks and snares that they possibly could. And now that's such an important factor to learn the sonics of that. And with hip hop and sampling, and now if you look at like house music, disco house has come back again, which is great because, you know, who doesn't like disco house? Do you know what I mean? And that's what I miss about walking into a club and hearing that, you know, low pass filtered disco loop, and you're like, oh, I love this tune. This is great. Do you know what I mean? Or one of those drum and bass tracks when the bass just kicks in. Andy C just played one of those tunes. You're just like, what is this? You know, that is missing, and it's
One of my
honestly,
favourite DJs.
you know, rap will say it's such a poignant part of music for all of us, whether it's house, techno, drum and bass, or hip hop, and even the live shows. Because I was doing live shows with a rapper, you know. It was a totally different thing from like DJing, but the buzz I used to get from it and festivals and stuff, playing to like anything from like 500 people to 20,000, it didn't matter. It was the buzz, going on stage and living that buzz. So now's a good opportunity for all those DJs to get in the studios, get their acapellas, you know, get them all time stretched, get them all neatly arranged, to drop them in the mix when they're DJing or when they're doing their streams or when they're mixing and doing a, you know, a DJ mix. You know, be creative, be clever, and, you know, find and do some research, and you'll stand out from the crowd rather than just be another person who just plays music. Because that's what I did when I first started writing and DJing. You know, I used to practice scratching and all sorts of things. And if it wasn't for those practicing sessions, I wouldn't be here sat talking to you. So, you know, now's a good opportunity to get back and learn those tricks of the trade that will make you stand out as a better DJ. It doesn't mean you have to learn to scratch or whatever, but if you can have that in your armoury, it's got to be a good little weapon to have, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with you. I just want to say I think it's a good opportunity for people as well. If you're out there wondering what to do, if you're a great vocalist, people are looking for vocalists.
Yeah,
it's a good time to be able to hit someone up and say, look, I've got a private SoundCloud, you know, blah, 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 and would you like to listen to my vocals? If you're an up-and-coming producer, hone those engineering skills. There are tutorials. I offer tutorials. Just go to MTC. I do Ableton courses, whatever, but there's a million ways you can learn sound design. You know, he's learning Spanish. You could learn and work on your sound design. You know, it certainly forced me to do more in the way of upping my game. So if you're out there thinking, how can I reach people? Never has there been a time, I think, where we are more closer to you for you to reach, because you know, I was speaking to Dope Ammo the other day, and we're going to be working together on something. And, you know, he's got the #1 Beatport track right now, and he's the loveliest guy. And it's just about calling each other and reaching. I think when COVID first started, everyone was sort of like, yeah, we're all in this together. The neighbours were hanging out, and, you know, we're all clapping for the NHS. And now everyone's sort of gone, hold on a minute, the dance scene is gone. When did that happen?
Yeah.
And now everyone's realising, oh, You know, we've actually got to figure something out here. So now people are reaching out, DJs are reaching out to collaborate with each other, people that normally maybe wouldn't mix. Like, let's do something pop together, let's do something this. That's the time to do it. So I think there is a way to turn this around, and turn it to your advantage for all you new producers, engineers, singers out there. We need you just as much as you need us.
Great
Yeah,
point.
I think that's definitely true. I mean, I'm not sure that there's a sound design program that can make you feel as guilty as the Duolingo owl does when you're trying to learn language. But yeah, we're finding the same thing. So we're True Thoughts are actually re-releasing a bunch of acapellas in the next few months because we want to make it as accessible as possible for
Great
DJs
idea.
and producers playing around with that sort of thing to have those available to them. Now, something that you've both touched on is the idea of like standing out. And I guess for people coming up through the ranks at the moment who don't have the same, you know, they're not able to do the live shows, they're not able to go on the road. I guess, what were your journeys into finding the things that make you stand out as a DJ and producer, and what advice can you offer to people to find those unique selling points, those things that make them stand out that they can really take ownership of?
Could I jump in for a sec? The one thing I think maybe everyone can agree on is just be yourself. Actually, the thing that makes you weird and wonderful, I would focus on that. Because there's nothing more sad than looking at the Beatport chart and every track sounds the same. It's almost like, oh, well, I've got this preset, mastering preset, and everyone's making this style, so I'll just make the same sounds with an elephant in it. I just don't understand that. Be yourself. It doesn't matter if everybody doesn't play your music. None of that matters. Your fans will care, and they will love you for being unique. And that is the one thing I can promise you is going to work for you, your uniqueness. So don't try to sound like everybody else. That is the most important thing I can share.
Yeah, totally. For me, that's what happened with me. I was in a confusing state because I came from a hip hop background, but I like the more up tempo sort of beats. And I gave my first record to Norman, and he signed it, Norman Cook, to Southern Fried, and it was an up tempo record because I couldn't make hip hop in the UK. It was impossible because you couldn't just get Redman or Busta Rhymes or anything because you're talking like 50 grand. So to get like well-known vocalists was
Not
really
anymore.
no, yeah. To get well-known vocalists was really hard. So I made like up tempo beats. And that's what got me into like breakbeat and drum and bass and stuff like that. And I think, you need to learn and practice. I sat in a room and practiced with the same copies of like Good Times Chic and Alna Fish the Soul, scratching those two records. And my ex-wife used to drive her crazy. But in the end, it kind of worked for me, and I ended up in a record shop and people used to come in and I used to learn so much about music. In the UK, we've got we used to have car boot sales and people used to sell tons of records there. So I used to scour the car boot sales for records and record stores and buy all these records. And I used to learn so much from rock, pop, jazz, funk, disco. And that's what people need to do because nowadays people haven't got that and they're not so much involved in records. It's all online. But that information is available to you online. So if you type in certain genres and sounds, you will find all those records that I used to spend years searching
or
for at car boot
Discogs.
sales. Yeah, exactly. And once you learn about that music, you'll find those samples which will inspire you to pop off on another idea. And then suddenly you think, well, that vocal, I could get that re-sung, or I could get someone to sing that like that. And just for example, the other day, I sampled like a Michael Jackson thing, and then I said to someone, I need to get this re-sung. Now, I never thought about getting someone who is a Michael Jackson, does copies Michael Jackson, does him live. I think, well, why don't I ask him to do that? Because I'm going to get exactly the same sort of sound. And, you're discovering all these new ideas and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's all about studying, practicing, learning that fine art. And if you practice, you will get better. It's like an athlete. They practice, they get better. A footballer, they practice, they get better. If you practice at music and DJing and you learn, all this stuff is available online to listen to read, and you can get tutorials. And we're all doing streams, Patreons, and talking to our fans now. Now is the most important time to jump on that and get in there quickly while, we're all doing this on a one-to-one basis and such.
I think going back to the unique selling point type thing, it's all about, for me anyway, I'm into a very broad genre or a lot of different styles of music, and it's about mixing and blending those styles and the parts of those styles that I enjoy, bringing them together and putting my own spin on it. And I think that's the reason my music stood out, as I guess a lot of yours has as well. You said you were mixing hip hop with faster beats. That's exactly what it's about, I think.
Yeah, one thing that kind of has jumped out to me is that I think we need to not, if for newer producers and people that are starting out, I mean, if people want to be a DJ, then you need to learn how to make music. So that's just the way that it works. But, I think when I came through, as a DJ and a newer producer, one thing that blew me away was all the fakeness of buying hype, paying for fans, paying for followers, paying for play counts on SoundCloud, and so it's like, what's real? What's the barometer of success when everybody is following the grain and everybody's paying for stuff? What truly is successful? And so I hide on all my uploads, I hide all the stats so that because I don't want people to be looking at a number and go, oh, that must be good because it's got 50,000 plays, but who knows, they're all paid for or something. So I think some people...
Well, you can tell if they're paid for, though. You can, in a way, because you look at the comments, and this is something important to tell people. If they are going to fall in that trap, you've got 50,000 paid fans, but you only get 8 responses to a comment.
Yeah, that's true.
And you've been only doing this for 3 years, but it's... I think I've seen some of the younger generation on the East Coast of being delusioned, thinking they need to pay for Instagram fans, they need to give this version of hype before they've paid their dues. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You need to learn the skills, you need to up your game. And I think, we're always doing that. Like I've hardly been able to make any music during this time. I've made 1 track and 1 remix. I've been creatively challenged, but I've been focused on launching my label and then perfecting my vinyl sets and just because at the end of the day, I am working a day job. I don't want to be on a computer anymore. So the perfect way for that, to get kind of over that is to jump on the decks and start, and playing records and stuff. So I think, it's just being more for the newer people coming through, it's be authentic. Don't think that just because you've made 1 track now that all of a sudden that you should have a million followers and and that kind of thing. It doesn't work like that.
We're stuck in a social media bubble at the moment, aren't we? Well, because since COVID's come in, that's all we've got at the moment, because we're not going out, we're not travelling, we're not doing anything as such. So we're spending more time on social media than ever now, which is even more frightening.
There's a really good documentary called The Social Dilemma. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it on Netflix. Watch it.
Yeah. I was going to ask actually, because it's a conversation that I have with just lots of people in general all the time. Particularly now you've got live stream numbers to contend with, as well as followers and Spotify accounts and all of those things. In terms of we've already talked about the fact that we've lost for now anyway, we've lost club culture, we've lost dancing. In terms of mental health, how do you find, you hide your streaming numbers? Are there any other kind of top tips that you can give people for not letting that get the better of you, I suppose?
Mental health thing is a very difficult thing, because when you're happy, your mind is taken away from those anxiety feelings that you get, and and it just needs one little thing to tip the balance, and then suddenly you're like, oh. And that's how we're feeling at the moment, because all we're getting fed with the news is just rubbish, basically. Well, not rubbish, but just it's not good news.
It's rubbish.
Yeah, yeah.
It's doom and gloom.
It's propaganda rubbish.
Yeah. And it's so disheartening, because really all at the end of the day we want to do is entertain people and bring happiness to people. All of us in here right now, that's all we do. If someone said to us, you can play a gig at my pub to 20 people, we'd go, yeah, we'll do that. Whereas like a year ago, we're like, are you joking? No, I wouldn't do that. And that's how much DJing and music means to us. So, you know,
Depends what drinks they're offering.
yeah, of course.
Come on.
But yeah, it's really, really, like, mental health wise, it's so positive. It's so important to focus on positivity. And it's the negative thoughts that drive you down the wrong path. And we've all had it as DJs, because I've travelled the world and I've been on Christmas Day, for example, I've been sat in a hotel room on Christmas Day with none of my kids around me. And this was before you could do FaceTime. So it was just a phone call, and it would be the wrong time of the day. They'd be in bed. I'd just be waking up, sat there on my own, no one to talk to. And that can be quite depressing. But what I used to do was think about the gig that I've got coming up, the show that I've got coming up, all the amazing people that I was just about to meet, and how good and how much fun my job was. So that's all you need to do. It's just one little train of thought to trigger that, to make you feel good and positive. So it's basically, you know, it's like when you book a holiday. You look forward to that holiday. It might be 6 months' time, so you think about it. And so it's like triggering those little thoughts. Oh, I can't wait to go on holiday. So place positive thoughts in your mind. And so when you might feeling down, or go onto the internet and think, right, I'm going to look at like some music and listen to some funk or disco. Think, oh, that's really good, that. I might use that in my next idea. And it's just like try and be creative. And that's what we try and do as artists, is try and bring so much creativity to us and positivity. And it's very difficult because there isn't much around, you know, because I used to run club nights. I've got a record label myself. So I'd be constantly busy. And I don't feel that way to be putting out loads of music, and I'm not hearing music that I want to push to people. So it is difficult times, isn't it?
And it's hardest for us DJs too, because our outlet, our stress release was our gigs,
Yes.
or,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, and going and dancing ourselves and losing and giving. We give that to people, and then we get that back in return.
Totally.
And so that's been the part that's been, you know, taken away from us. And so I think it's like, you know, it's been hard, because that's, you know, that stress reliever is gone now, at least for a while. And so it's, you know, trying to deal with that. You know, I can't do live streams. I'm horrible with it. I'm terrible with video stuff. I'll tell you right now, music is my thing. And so, you know, if I have to like get it set up and all these technical things, it just like, it drives me absolutely crazy.
It's quite stressful.
Yeah.
I
So
say though, I wish that you would, you know, I understand what you're saying. It was the same for me when I started, but short 6 weeks later, I'm a technical wizard at it now. I've got a Blackmagic switcher box, 4 cameras, 4 angles, and you can DJ edit at the same time. It's not that scary. Throw yourself into it. I tell you, the sense of accomplishment you will feel. Don't let anything ever hold you back, like a fear of technology or something. It always seems scarier. And I think that's really important, because I think, you know, I see a talented person who nothing could stop you. And I think people would benefit from seeing you stream and doing whatever you're doing. So make sure you like try it at least. And if you can't, pay someone. There's someone out there looking for a job right now who needs that. There you go. He just volunteered. The other thing I think is important when you're dealing with stress and mental stress, is interesting that everybody here has practically said they've had difficulty making music. Isn't that interesting when it's a time we have most to make music? And I think what it is that sense of hopelessness of like, well, why bother? Because blah, blah, blah. We're all feeling this way. But if you can turn what you're feeling not on yourself and put the attention on someone else, I think that will help somebody do something different, get out of your comfort zone. For me, the Patreon, like focusing on them instead of me, gets me out of bed, even though I'm not going to lie and pretend I feel jolly and happy every day. I feel bloody depressed about all of this. But at the end of the day, what are we going to do? Curl up in little balls and die? No, learn a new language, do something different, but take the attention off yourself. And the one thing that I can stress is get outside, exercise or walk. You know, even if a gym was shut, get outside. Nature is so important to get out of that room.
For me, anyway.
Get out of that room and do it. And the other thing I do want to bring that I think is really important for all of us, I don't know about you lot, but when lockdown happened, I streamed for 13 weeks straight, every week a different genre. You know what's sad? When people don't buy your record or support you back. It's $1.99. And what I'm saying is that we're all in this together. And we all have to support not only each other, because there's people losing jobs, losing what they're doing, but if someone is providing you a getaway or a haven from the noise for like an hour of your life and it means something to you, support that artist back, even if it's not financially. Spread the word about how great their streams are. You know, we can all help each other through this. I think that's really important. I might be the bad guy for saying that, but we can't just, you know, what annoys me is that we're expected to do everything all the time for free because we're artists. But if you hire a plumber, it's not like, but you'll get great promotion if you plumb my toilet for free.
That's so true.
You know, I'm sorry, you could be
the
biggest promoter in the world asking me to stream for free. And that's one thing, to get promotion. But let's remember all in this together, and you've got to support each other. So if you're a new artist and you want our support, you know, we're happy to do it. But at the same time, we need you too. You know, we need you too.
Yeah, I think definitely either, you know, literally, or as you say, with sort of with promoting and with social media, people have to, music fans need to put their money where their mouth is in one way or another in this time.
She went cheaper than a cup of coffee.
and today is Bandcamp Friday, so you know today's the day to go out and buy music. Yeah, I guess moving away a little bit maybe from the overwhelming COVID-19 topic, you guys have both mentioned your own labels. One of the things that I wanted to touch on, you know, talking a lot about people reaching out on their own and kind of getting in touch with people off their own backs and all of that. I guess the next step to that is for all of you, you know, where do you stand on self-releasing versus getting signed? Any tips for anyone who looking to get signed? Any tips for anyone looking to start labels who might be messing around with DJing, producing on the side?
Well, I love the idea of being indie. Indie is great, don't you? I mean, I love being able to. You know, we're sort of from the old school where I've had a multi-million-dollar deal with Sony. I know what that's like. That machine's lovely, but I really love owning a label. I mean, it's not that hard. It's not like the old days where the accounting was hard. So if you're looking to start a label, I'm just going to shamelessly promote the fact that I have a label course on how to start an indie label on Music Tech Collective. So hit me up if you want to know that. But it's not that hard. Honestly, it really isn't. There's so much technology now available to us, and it looks scary. It feels daunting, but actually, it's not that hard to have your own label. What's tricky is making great music, and it all starts with making a great song. You know, if you can just make great music, no one can ignore you for long, trust me. So focus on that, but making a label, I can't say enough good things about having your own label, because no one will care as much as you do about it, and you will put your blood, sweat and tears into it. And it only takes, I'd say, 4 days out of a month to have a release. And then there's the promotion, the assets and all that stuff, and finding a good team that you can work with. Maybe you can barter with some mates who, maybe someone's good at and funny and good at social media, because there's a lot of things right now about doing videos with memes and all this different stuff. There's so many ways to get creative. So I'm all for it. Like, do your own thing, get yourself promoted. It's not hard these days, you know, to do that, but it has to start with good music. And back in the day, I don't know how I would pull out my favorite records, and I would listen to the top 10 records in my box and go, okay, so what makes these tunes great? You know, nowadays you can pull any record into your DAW, into your computer, and you can just put locators down and follow the arrangement. It's so easy to like see what makes a tune great in the sense of structure, but what makes it really great is your own individual stamp on it. So go indie all the way and just look at your heroes and look at what they did without copying them, but look at what makes each tune great. That's where it starts for me.
Yeah, agreed.
It gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of releasing as well. You know, obviously you've got control of your own release schedule, which has been massive for me over the last 3 or 4 years since having the label. Yeah, and being able to take time and get the records how you want them. Sometimes if you're releasing elsewhere, you could always have A&Rs over your shoulder saying, you know, maybe do this, maybe change that about the record. At least if it's your own label, it's your own art, and you're in control.
Yeah, and I'm kind of new to this whole label owning thing, and I launched my label in January of this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh. My second release, which I was super pumped about, called Evolution Party with Ursula Rucker, went out literally like in April, just as like the
Everything
big,
was
yeah,
big.
and there's a remix by Tiger Stripes, and it's this big, heavy, techno banger, and it was like it was a challenge because I was so excited about it, but then like everybody's like, whoa, okay, there's no nightclubs, and this is club music, so it's been an amazing learning experience. But I think, like what you said, Josh, now being able to, I had a full catalog of 20 tracks that I had finished and remixes and the whole thing, and they were just sitting on my hard drive. And I got really discouraged with a lot of the label shopping process, and I had some good signings, but then a lot of other stuff just sat there. And so it was like, yeah, and I kind of, I grappled with doing the label for a long time, because I was like, I don't want to be just another producer that's starting a label just to throw my own releases out. But also, I didn't quite know that, like, oh, I really want to have, all this other kind of music and sign all these artists and stuff. And so for me, at first, it's the outlet of, okay, my own stuff with the remixes, and then kind of seeing where it goes, and the third release went out, like right after the George Floyd incident, and so it's been a
year of new struggles around releases.
But
I
I'm
actually
really
switched the release schedule around quite a bit with my label to
needed
try
to
and
happen,
adapt with the times, and release more of the deeper soulful records during the summer when people are at home and potentially in the garden and stuff. More like Spotify friendly sort of stuff. And I'm hoping next year we can start releasing the bangers again.
Well, I think if you look back at history, at when raves were open, the type of music we were listening to, and then when it went club for the first time, music changed, because we're in darker and more enclosed spaces. Like the music will reflect what is happening. Hope that's not me. The music will reflect. I turned it off, actually. The music will reflect what's happening in society.
Totally.
So now we're getting into this point where people are listening, it's not dancing, so we can be more emotive, we can do something cool. So for me, I like to put a lot of emotion in my tunes and then suddenly slam in with a bass, but not like you're in a club and you need to be, coffee
Still
drinking.
gives that little boost.
It still needs that boost. So I think it's like I said, chance to flex your musical muscles as well as your sonic ones. And that's interesting. Like, we're going to see a beautiful synergy of music. People are going to start blending styles again and doing all that stuff that, we're already familiar with doing. But I think that's the fun of it, right? Get in there, and if you like a hip hop track, mash it up with something with something that you never would have thought of, some dirty disco, whatever. Why not? People are looking for something new and happy. It needs to be feeling good and positive.
I think it's all of this has sort of shown what a nice opportunity, how good an opportunity is for the music industry to show off how adaptable we all are in one way or another, whether that is mixing around release schedules or the sort of music that you're making. And I think that's a fantastic opportunity if you choose to take it, which it sounds like everyone very much is. I was given the 5-minute warning a few minutes ago, so I guess any final thoughts from anyone?
Well, I would just say that I've been in the music industry for a long time, and I still feel like I've got my best to come, like from writing. And I'm just working on a new project now, and I'm looking for vocalists, and I've picked up some really good vocalists like Sky from Morchiba and Lyrics Born from America and Charlie Tuna and some other guys. And I'm really excited about where my music's going because I've had a little bit more time to study and focus on it. And that's what the word is, focus, at the moment, because we have got more time than we've ever had. So if you can utilise that time to the fullest and make better music, better sounds, be a better DJ, practice and improve, you will stand out from the rest, because there's millions of people who want to do what we're doing. And, and I always feel that I'm so lucky to have this opportunity. And I'm never going to let it go. And I'm not going to let the government let it go. I'm going to fight to keep it going. And that's what we've got to do. And that's why, as people, we want to hear what you've got to offer as well. And I know that there is good stuff out there. Vocalists, DJs, and presenters.
Brilliant. A fab note to end on, I think. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you.